Shots fired near the hospital. Command, we have positive contact.
Understood. Move to contain.
Ma'am, please calm down. What is the nature of your emergency?
Trying to get in the windows! Please help us!
Ma'am? Ma'am!
The line is breached. We can't hold them off. They're everywhere. Containment failed. We need extraction.
To ensure Umbrella's survival, the story of what happened must never be told. We need to make sure the truth dies, along with each scrap of evidence and every survivor. Umbrella Security Service Task Force. Commence Operation Raccon City.
Okay, so this is supposed to be one of the worst ones. But probably there will be comments of Raccon City fans who defend this game. Not that I have anything against that, everyone has the right to his or her opinion, but I think it's funny. My channel is almost non-existent, but every time I review a game negatively, there are people in the comments defending it. But the question is, will I like this one or jump on the bandwagon even though it's 10 years later and just hate on this one? Well, let's take a look. This is the first one of the games I've actually played before. I used to play a censored version without the DLC, I think, as my older brother had it on his Xbox. I remember not really caring for it and just playing it while I had some spare time. But I think I didn't hate it. Anyways, I have bought the standard uncut version of this and then actually also bought the DLCs now. All of them, so I can play the Spec Ops campaign now. But I have started with the USS campaign, as it's the main game after all. I didn't play it online though, neither back then nor now. I think the servers on consoles are offline anyways. I haven't checked it though, so I could be wrong. We start our assignment when infiltrating an Umbrella facility. Our primary order is to assist Hank by getting the G-Virus sample from William Birkin. Of course, now I know this won't work out as planned and soon we are chased by a mutated Birkin. We manage to escape the facility and what follows are 6 more missions in which we fight against corrupt Umbrella mercenaries, Spec Ops forces, of course zombies, lickers, hunters and eventually tyrants. The story is just a loosely connected number of assignments which the USS Team called Wolfpack are taking on. During the story we fight against tyrants, the nemesis, destroy evidence, meet and eventually get the mission to kill Leon, Claire and Sherry. After the Wolfpack has somehow been deemed expendable and completing some more missions to get the trust of Umbrella back, the Wolfpack has the chance of extraction. This is the big highlight of the game and it's underwhelming as fuck to be honest. The final level is taking place at a train yard and in that short mission we can eventually decide if we want to kill or save them. Either way, the team will be split and one side gets Leon as an ally. This is not canonical from what I understand, so it's a what if scenario, which explains all the differences to the main story. But I have to say, after playing a couple of these games, there are so many small differences when events are shown or reshown. I don't think anyone has a clear idea what is canon or not for some events. The story is not important here. It's just some fan service in the setting of the Raccon City zombie outbreak. We meet Hank, Jill, Birkin, Sherry and of course Leon and Claire. The characters of the Wolfpack are also not really established. We only get a short intro text for the characters and some rather bad voice acting. Before I talk about the gameplay, let me talk about the graphics and style. Of course, it's not fair to talk about the graphics of this game compared to modern games, but the style can be judged, I would say. And that is really ugly. It's all very dark, the environments look quite similar, the NPCs, character models look quite bad at times. You can see that everything is shiny when it gets too dark, everything is covered in a dark grey tone. I'm really not a fan of this look. The zombies also look bigger than normal people, not quite sure why though. But let's talk about the gameplay now. The gameplay is quite simple. You just shoot your way through certain areas and progress into the next one. You can earn XP in various ways when you play by completing objectives, collecting evidence and transmitting it via laptops. There are also raccoons which can be collected. These XP can be used to buy new weapons and abilities. The abilities can also be upgraded. To be honest, I only cared for the guns, so I used Spectre as he made the items on the minimap visible, which meant I always found ammo, weapons, healing items and evidence immediately. And with more evidence I was able to earn more XP and buy new guns sooner. The guns are not even that good, to be honest. The first MPs and pistols are very weak, but almost everything else kills just as good as the previous gun. But I like to unlock stuff, and here it's basically possible to buy a gun after every mission, which feels rewarding. The combat is very underwhelming for the most part. It's just a zombie shooter with very spongy enemies in a squad. In a squad with real people this would probably be fine, but the AI for the teammates and enemies is absolutely brain dead. There's that one mission in the city hall where the building is starting to burn and my teammates were just walking into the fire, sometimes dying. I'm also not quite sure why there are tactical approaches suggested, as they don't work. There are several hints which talk about being quiet to not get spotted, but I assume you will get spotted immediately every time you enter a certain spot. The combat itself is also not really fun, as there's almost no feedback at all when you hit the enemies, which feels just weird. I mean, yes, Resident Evil has spongy enemies, but they usually get startled when you hit them. They stop their attack when you hit them hard enough or walk back, but not here. The splatter is also weird. You can tear these enemies apart, but it has no effect, at least on me. It's not cool or particularly brutal, maybe because there's basically no immersion. The enemies don't look like cool or disgusting zombies, they are just greyish or red for some reason. The enemies are also barely a threat. The only times I got killed was when I was overwhelmed because I walked into a spawn point. This is especially annoying in that one mission when you have to activate gadgets in a lab, and Spec Ops just walk in from some doors. If you're next to a door, they storm, you will die and your teammates can't revive you when you're playing offline. The level design is fairly boring. You are usually just advancing through corridors, which look almost all the same, and are indeed very boring. You can explore areas and find some items, but it's not like the previous game. It all feels just so rudimentary. Also, the last mission just sucks. You have to shoot Spec Ops behind barricades at the rail yard to make them bleed. But on my first try it didn't work for some reason, and the zombies just kept storming to my direction and killing me. You yourself can also start bleeding, attracting zombies. You can also get infected and turn into a zombie. If a teammate turns, you can simply kill them and then revive them. Weird. Overall, this wasn't great, it's not even good, but it's playable. It's a bit of fun, and seeing these scenarios play out differently is kind of interesting. But there's one thing which really holds the game down: the missed potential. This could have been a lot of fun. This could have a cool story or interesting characters. It could show some insight into how Umbrella works, but it's almost non-existent. The weapons and abilities are also fairly boring in my opinion. It's definitely no must play, and it's definitely not worth $20 or whatever I paid for it. The main game gets a 4 out of 10.
But wait! There's more!
Yes, I am also now able to play the Spec Ops campaign, which was also more expensive than it has any right to be. And I assume it won't change anything, right? This will still be a below average game, right?
Right? Wrong.
This was actually better than the main campaign. I don't know why or what happened, but this was actually better. Story, presentation, party girl, this actually improves the game. There was only one annoying passage. In the end, the story is coherent and a bit interesting. There are new enemy types. One is actually interesting and you don't just advance through corridors shooting monsters. There were spots where you have to proceed with caution. There's still a lot of mindless action, but it's overall better. Only the end fight takes for fucking ever, which was annoying. But also here you have to hit the enemy's weak spot, just like you do in an action Resident Evil game. I first played as DA, they should have just called him DJ, but then I saw that Party Girl had the same abilities as Spectre. And of course I'm taking Party Girl then.
It looks like you guys were having some kind of party last night. I'll bet you like to party.
It still has a lot of issues. It is too expensive, I would say. The AI is still terrible, it looks ugly, and shooting is more than underwhelming. But it feels better in presentation, the squad is more distinct and the story is more interesting and coherent. You also meet a couple more characters. I was also quite surprised to see how Carlos Oliveira looks here, after the Resident Evil 3 remake. To be honest, this should have been the main campaign and the Wolfpack stuff should have been the DLC. I had kind of fun with the DLC, and if I blend out the price, I would actually go so far to give it a 6 out of 10. So this would make the whole package a 5 out of 10. If it would have been a budget title, in the gold edition with all the DLC, I would actually say you can check it out when on sale. But as is, it's definitely not worth it. I really like the soundtrack in the main menu though. Next time I will check out another spin-off. Actually a couple of them. And the next 3 or so games in the series I will review I have actually played before, so it's nice to revisit them then.